Much, Presiding Officer, and can I thank Ross Greer for securing this debate this afternoon and echo his and other members' praise for the efforts of our teachers and our school communities at this time. It is indeed a deeply worrying situation for all of us, and like Patrick Harvey, my own area is going into level 4, and I have numerous correspondence from people with concerns around that. However, I do have some issues with the way things are being presented today. The Education Recovery Group is not just the government. It's the government in cooperation with COSLA, with the unions, who came up with the guidance agreed by all in order that our schools could open up and open up fully as was required. However, the implementation of that guidance and what happens in terms of the relations with the teachers is a matter for the employer, which is the local authority. If there are breaches such as being described in the chamber this afternoon, then we have to say that the guidelines are not being followed to the letter as intended, because the information is there to allow our schools to operate and continue to have a safe environment, should be, for our pupils and our teachers. This is something we've been discussing for a long time. I remember the issues around blended learning before the opening of the schools. At that point, the Conservatives were all about the parents' wishes, about the demands to get the schools open. It was the government's plans were described as a screeching U-turn. But we did what was expected at that time to get the schools open and have that face-to-face education going on wherever possible. And I have to take issue also with being absent from school doesn't mean being absent from education. There has been a great investment in digital learning. There have been funds provided to local authorities, but it's down to individual school leaderships and the local authorities to make sure pupils have access to those digital learning opportunities. I'll take Mr Halker-Johnson.
Jamie Halker-Johnson.
I thank the member for taking the intervention. Can she tell me that she is absolutely sure that there aren't children and young people at schools missing out because they do not have the technology or the broadband required, and so they were missing out? And can she tell me how many there are? Because I've struggled to get that information from the Cabinet Secretary.
I think, Mr Halker-Johnson, this is about local implementation, and I have examples from one local authority where one school is providing this and ensuring that that home support is there, whether digitally or not, for pupils. But in other schools, unfortunately, it is not happening. And that is a matter for the local authorities to ensure that the proper support is there for pupils that having to self-isolate at home. And I know the Cabinet Secretary that have been concerns raised about the appropriateness of sitting exams and those considerations, and I look forward to the Cabinet Secretary explaining how multiple absences will be considered at the time of assessing an appropriateness of sitting exams. Sorry, I've already taken an intervention and I'm in my last few seconds. The fact is, 1,250 new teachers and support staff have been recruited. £80 million of support has been put in place. What we have to do is come together and work together to ensure that the guidelines and the implementation is consistent across Scotland to ensure the best outcome for our pupils.
Thank you, and I call Liz Smith to be followed.